I was 50 years old when my life completely fell apart. And you know what's funny? It was the best thing that could have happened to me. But I didn't know that on that September morning, when I woke up in a tiny apartment that smelled of mold, with only 2 suitcases of clothes and a bank account with $340. $340 was all I had. My name is Lily. And this is the story of how I lost everything: my marriage, my home, my identity, and discovered there was still time to start over. For 26 years, I was Charles's wife, the mother of 2 children, the owner of the beautiful house in the suburbs with a well-kept garden and dinner always at 7 o'clock. I didn't work outside the home. Charles thought it wasn't necessary. He was a bank manager, earned well enough, and I went along with it. I took care of the house, the children, the appearances. At 49, I discovered that Charles had another family, literally another woman, in a city 2 hours away. 2 small children I didn't know existed. When I confronted him, he didn't deny it. He just said he would work things out. 3 months later, he worked it out. He asked for a divorce. He kept the house. It was in his name. He kept the savings, a joint account he emptied before I noticed. He kept everything. My children, already adults, took his side. Dad is going through a difficult time. You need to be more understanding. As if I were the problem. At 50, I was alone, without money, without a home, without a profession, an invisible woman who had spent half her life being someone's wife. And now I was nobody. The apartment I managed to rent was on the wrong side of town, first floor, constant traffic noise, heating that never worked properly, but it was what I could afford with the temporary alimony money, which would only last 6 months. 6 months to get back on my feet, according to the judge. I didn't even know where to start. I had never made a resume. I didn't have a complete college degree. I dropped out in my 2nd year when I got pregnant. I had no professional experience, 50 years old, and the only thing I knew how to do was keep a house clean and prepare dinners that no one would eat anymore. I spent weeks looking for work. Any work. Receptionist, supermarket cashier, housekeeper, nothing. You're overqualified, some said, which was a lie. We're looking for someone younger, others admitted, which was the truth. There was one night, I remember exactly, I was eating instant noodles for the 4th time that week because that's what I had money to buy. And I started crying. Not that pretty movie crying. It was ugly crying, desperate crying, from someone who is completely lost. I was 50 years old. Half my life had already passed. And what did I have to show for it? A destroyed marriage, children who barely spoke to me, no skills, no future. I thought about giving up, not in a dramatic way, but in that quiet way, just stop trying, accept that my life was already over, wait for the days to pass. That's when my upstairs neighbor knocked on my door. Dorothy was about 70, a widow, lived alone with 3 cats. She must have heard my crying through the thin ceiling. "Dear," she said without beating around the bush, "you're making a terrible noise and I'm worried. Can I come in?" And I let her. Because when you're at rock bottom, strangers' opinions stop mattering. Dorothy made me tea. She brought her own tea bag because she saw I had nothing in the kitchen. And she listened to me. She didn't give cheap advice. She didn't say that everything would be okay. She just listened. When I finished telling her everything, she was silent for a moment. Then she said something that changed everything. "Lily, you spent 50 years being who others expected you to be. Maybe now it's time to discover who you really are." She told me she worked as a volunteer at a community center, that they always needed help, that they didn't pay anything, but I would meet people, have something to do, get out of that apartment. And who knows, she said with a smile. You might discover you're good at something you never imagined. I started the following week. I helped in the community lunch kitchen. I organized clothing donations. Simple things. But for the first time in months, I felt useful. That's where I met Margaret, the coordinator. She was about 55, had the energy of someone 30, and was always running from one side to the other, trying to keep that place running with practically no budget. One day, she was struggling with the computer, trying to make a spreadsheet to organize the food inventory. Everything was going wrong. Without thinking much, I offered to help. I used to do this for the house. Expense control, pantry inventory, that kind of thing. Margaret looked at me as if I had offered her gold. You know how to do spreadsheets? I do. And I can organize the filing system too, if you want. I have a lot of free time. That was the beginning. In 3 months, I had reorganized the entire inventory system of the center. I created a donor database. I established a volunteer schedule that actually worked. Margaret was so impressed that she offered me a job. Part-time, minimum wage, but it was a job. It was mine. At 51, 1 year after losing everything, I had a job, a better apartment. I was taking evening administration classes at community college. It wasn't glamorous. I hadn't become rich. I hadn't won, according to the standards I had spent my whole life pursuing. But for the first time in decades, I knew who I was when I looked in the mirror. There was a day I'll never forget. My daughter, who had gone months without speaking to me, showed up at the community center. She had found out where I worked. Mom, she said, and her eyes were welling up. I need to apologize. She had discovered that her father was having another affair with a younger woman, that he lied about everything, that she and her brother had been unfair to me. I could have said, I told you so. I could have thrown in her face all the months of silence and abandonment. But you know what I did? I hugged my daughter and I told her the truth. I'm not happy that you're suffering, but I'm happy you came. Because the woman I was before, the one who depended on others' approval to exist, would have begged for forgiveness, even though I wasn't at fault. Would have bent over to keep the peace. But the woman I had become knew her own worth. Today, I'm 62 years old. I'm the administrative manager of the community center. I finished my degree. At 54, I was the oldest graduate in the class and couldn't be prouder. I live alone in a small but comfortable apartment. I pay my own bills. I make my own decisions. Charles got married again, divorced again. I heard he's alone now, trying to reconnecting with the children he abandoned. I don't feel anger toward him. I don't feel anything, actually. Because he gave me, without meaning to, the greatest gift possible. He forced me to discover who I was without him. People ask me if I would go back if I could, if I would choose not to go through all of that. And the honest answer, no, because losing everything taught me that I wasn't the things I owned. I wasn't the beautiful house or the respectable marriage or the role I played for so long. I was Lily, just Lily. And she was stronger, more capable, more interesting than I had ever imagined. 50 isn't the end. Neither is 60. Neither is 70. These numbers that frighten us so much are just that, numbers. Starting over isn't easy. There were days I wanted to give up. Days I cried in the shower so no one would hear. Days when eating was a luxury I could barely afford. But each difficult day made me stronger. Each small victory, a job obtained, a bill paid, a class completed, reminded me that I was capable. I planted a new life with my own hands. And it grew, slowly, but it grew. And if I could, you can too. If you're going through a new beginning, if you've lost something you thought defined who you are, if you're afraid it's too late, I want you to know, it's not. You are more than your losses, more than your mistakes, more than what others say about you. If this story touched you, leave a like so more people can hear it, and subscribe to the channel.